On this episode of the Dudes and Dads podcast, we are forging landmark events with our kids.
You're listening to the Dudes and Dads podcast, a show dedicated to helping men be better dudes and dads by building community through meaningful conversation and storytelling. And now, here are your hosts, Joel DeMott and Andy Lehman.
Andy, I've got two questions.
I got two answers for you.
Okay.
Shoot.
Number one, how's your sump pump?
It's working.
Good.
It's been pumping constantly, though, since like Wednesday.
It's been sumping.
It's been something that pumping.
Sumping and bumping.
That's what we call it these days, guys. Sumping and pumping.
Sumping and pumping.
But no, so those of you who are not in the know, I came home from Florida, and first off, my furnace was out.
That was my second question.
Right.
Was about the furnace.
So my furnace was out, and we're in the process of getting that taken care of. We need to buy a new one. So all of that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
But then Wednesday, I'm getting ready to come to church, right? And I don't even know why I went to the basement. But I went to the basement.
I'll tell you why, because the Lord wanted
told me.
The Lord wanted to either maybe alert you or to just test your faith before going to say a hallelujah.
So I was gonna go to church, and then all of a sudden I see that like the water at the very top level of the basin, and I'm like, oh no. Well, and actually last time when we were in Florida a year ago,
yes.
Came home and the basement was flooded too.
Yes. And
in that case, though, the sump pump was working. It just the float thing got trapped down.
Gotcha.
And so it thought that it thought that there was
no water
to pump. This time I reached in there and pushed the float and made sure it was free. Nothing happened. It briefly made a noise, and then I was like, well, let me just you know how it has the two plugs,
yes.
One for the float. I unplugged that and plugged it directly in, and I got nothing. And so I ran over to the Menards and bought a new one, and with the help of my father-in-law, was just changing that out Wednesday night and standing in literally water that was above my feet. I had water.
So that was over the whole, because there's two parts of your basement.
Yeah,
one's
so
a little bit lower than the other.
Right. So it was over the main part. That's the higher part.
Ugh.
And so yeah, it was not good. But since then, it has been running pretty much nonstop because we
got a lot of rain.
We got a lot of rain,
and we had some that went rain on this time of year. What you can get is a double whammy: the rain on top of snow melt.
Right.
Happening at the same time.
Right. So we haven't had much snow, so that's been okay. But yeah, it's been a week. Let me just tell you.
Oh, Andy. Well, for all of you that know Andy's pain, feel free to send him good thoughts and a continued success in the sumping and the pumping and the furnace situation. I will be honest with you, Andy. Our furnace, I believe, is original to our home, 1979.
Okay.
And so I am waiting
for that time.
I am waiting for the time. The inspections seem to be going okay, but that's an old furnace, and I too am waiting for the day.
Well, I to be honest, I went and looked at the time that it was actually put in, and it was 2000, and I was like, oh, that's not long ago. And then I realized that's 23 years ago, Joel.
Yeah.
23 years.
That's a good
point.
My
furnaces don't last that long.
No, they don't. Which makes me think now, as you're saying that, I'm like, no, that's right. Wait, 1979. That's
you're way overdue.
That's as old as you.
I am old.
So that usually, just for listeners, for our younger listeners, to your point, usually furnaces are not as old as Andy. That
right. I've outlived most furnaces.
When you put it that way.
Sounds morbid, but
whatever. Gosh. So yeah, there's that's the kind of stuff that happens to all of us, right? And
we get old, our furnace gets old.
And in your case, it's like there's nothing that says welcome back from a lovely Florida vacay.
Right. And it's a time of refreshing and
yes.
Yeah, it was.
And you were down, you and Jackie. No, that's your wife. That's my wife. Yeah. You and Julie were down there for a wonderful conference, and from the looks of it, you guys were having a blast.
Yeah, we did.
There's a nice photo out there of Andy holding a baby gator.
Yeah, we might have to put that in our show notes.
Yeah, I bet a pastor a few years ago, and I should have known because he's pretty much down for anything to kiss it, and he did. Oh. And so, yeah, I lost some.
I know pastors that went to wrestle gators.
Golly, that doesn't seem right.
No, youth pastors though.
Yeah, that's
so.
It's really
kind of fits.
It's Darwinian. You know, if it's their time to go, it's their time to go.
Well, guys, we want to thank our sponsors today. This episode is brought to you by Everence. Support from Everence comes from Everence Financial, helping individuals and organizations combine their faith and finances through retirement planning, banking, and other financial services. More at everence.com/Michiana.
And Andy, we're also looking for additional sponsors, as always, around here to jump on board with us. So if you or someone you know might want to become an official sponsor here for the Dudes and Dads podcast, you can, you know what, I'm just going to say, you can email Andy. Email Andy at dudesanddadspodcast.com.
We'd love to have you guys as a sponsor. So
yeah. And let's just say that we're continuing to grow this show. We are continuing to do all the things that responsible podcasters do, who are, you know, not too big for our britches, but who are wanting to bring excellence, as it were. So there's some cost to that and things like that. So we always appreciate your support, sponsorships, all of that. And we have some opportunities. And I will say, just briefly, we're in talks. We're in talks with our good friends over at Everence. We have some opportunities to expand the reach of this podcast this year. So we are super excited about that. And we're looking forward to all the opportunities. So what do you want to talk about next, Andy?
Our forging, I'm really interested. We're going to be talking tonight about forging landmark events with our kids. So let's talk a little bit about that. I know we've talked on the show before about doing things special with our kids, and you've said you've always planned on doing something, and you've done some things with your kids, but not necessarily at certain life events like ages, things like that. So, but you are really quickly coming up to coming up. But I would like to welcome your oldest son, Aaron. I almost said Josiah. I'm sorry, Aaron. I almost called you the wrong name.
Oh, hi, Aaron.
He's just shaking his head.
Hello.
Hi. So these kind of talking about like landmark events. So this is what my game plan is. I had an initial game plan that was stunted due to the Rona virus. Initially, we said when all the kiddos turn 10 years old, they'd get kind of like a trip, like a weekend trip that they would get to do with just me.
But because of that, you can't. Yeah,
no, it was
kids
like
are older
when they were turning. Yeah, when they were turning those ages, whatever. We scheduled. It was 2020 and then 2021, and just things were not open. It was a real struggle. So we're like, okay, well, here's the deal. At age 13, so the spring or summer after each kiddo turns 13, that we get to do like a serious trip.
And so Aaron is turned 13
Yeah.
Back in November, and we said, what could we possibly do for a trip? So Aaron, what is it when you said, out of all the things that you're like, what would be an amazing, fantastic thing to do for your trip? What did you select?
Spring training in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, yes. So we are hitting the friendly skies Thursday, early Thursday evening. And we're headed down to Phoenix, Arizona to watch a couple of Cleveland Guardians games, which people ask. They want to know, Joel, aren't you a Detroit Tigers fan? Yes, I am. But my eldest son, because God has a sense of humor, is a Cleveland Guardians fan.
Wow.
He had a lot of influence from his
yes, my wife's
other side of the family.
All those Cleveland people out there. I love you, but at the same time, I have some hurt feelings. You're taking my children away from me.
Well, I think it's just me and Matthew at this point.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably true.
Josiah is a whoever.
Yeah,
he doesn't really have too much of an opinion on baseball.
Gotcha. So we're gonna do some spring training, but we're gonna see some baseball games. But we got some hikes planned up north of Phoenix toward the Sedona. Aaron and I might, depending on if we got the time to do it, we actually might go up into Flagstaff, which I've not.
Oh, nice.
I've not gone up that far north yet. Aaron was like, well, could we go to the Grand Canyon? I'm like, turns out the Grand Canyon is like a long ways north. Like it's hard to, you don't really get a sense of,
right.
It's a lot of desert driving up there, but it's going to be a good time, I think.
Joel, so I have a question for you. I'm going to ask both of you, actually.
Yeah, I like it.
What do you hope to accomplish during this trip?
Ooh, that's a good one. You know what? Let's do this. How about we ask Aaron this
Okay.
question first?
All right, so I'm going to ask you, Aaron, what are you hoping to accomplish with this trip? I know it's a trip that your dad has kind of said, hey, I want to do this with you, but what are you hoping to accomplish besides seeing some baseball games?
Well, me and my dad we were thinking about going and setting some goals for myself for the coming year. And things I want to achieve in my life with like walking with better walk with Christ, walking better with balancing better with school and sports and all these other activities that I'm doing.
All the activities. Yeah.
All right, so Joel, I'm flipping it to you.
Yeah, that's good.
What about you? What do you hope to accomplish with this trip that you're taking with Aaron?
All those things that he just said. So I think, and this is on me too. Like, we talk about spiritual growth, we talk about discipleship. These last few months, if I'm really, really honest, and this has a lot to do with my job transition, it has a lot to do with just this season that we find ourselves in. You know, I will say, like, my wife challenged me in this the other day, you know, trying to, when we talk about setting goals for our spiritual growth and what that really looks like and trying to model those sort of things. I'm hoping that Aaron and I can have conversations around the idea of why those things are important, the experiences that I've had in my own life toward that end, and to also say things like, you know, I'm not exactly thrilled with where it's at right now. Like, I'm still growing too. I'm still learning too. But it seems like there's just a value in setting this time aside to have that kind of conversation uninterrupted. Sure. I'm sure you get it, Andy. Like, having uninterrupted conversations with intentionality and meaning, it can really feel like you have to fight for them.
Yeah, so. Definitely. And I think, you know, with the times that you can get away and have that, you know, I know that was one of the things that I appreciated about this last week when I was with Julie, is we did have time away. I mean, we were with people, we were with her coworkers. Yeah. But the time that we got to spend together was really good, and we had some good conversations too. Yeah,
there could be a really sacred thing about setting those things, setting time apart and doing it. And life feels so full right now that I think it's going to take us getting on an airplane, you know, which there's been several times where, you know, there is an expense to this, right? And there is, you know, I'm only 2 months into a new job, an executive job. I got lots of things to do on the work calendar for sure. But at the same time, it's like, if I don't do this, when? You know, you just kind of got to pull the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, right. It's easy to push things back because, you know, you have life and things like that. But what you're saying and what I hear you're saying is this is important. Time with Aaron specifically is important to have the one-on-one time to get to bond your relationship with him. And then it also gives your other kids something to look forward to too. Yeah. You know, Aaron can come back and say, hey guys, this was a lot of fun. And it gives them something to look forward to.
And hopefully it will not incite major jealousy amongst his next youngest brother. Which, like, and that's the thing. Josiah and I have already talked about what he would like to do for his trip. He was pretty quick in responding. Josiah wants to do like it's very much more up the Boy Scout, like intentional, like outdoor adventure kind of activity sort of thing. And he initially said he wanted to go to he wanted to go out to
Waters.
Well, he said Denver first. He wanted to go out to Colorado, whatever. And the deal is with that, like, I'm all good with that. But it's that whole thing was I wanted to do something that was reasonably enough familiar to me that I had confidence that I could plan something well. So then we got talking about, it was like, well, what elements did he really want to do that were really important? And it was like, I think Boundary Waters up northern Minnesota into Canada could kind of hit all the markers for him. So that's what we're talking about for next for 2024 for him. So he's already thinking about it, and it's good. And hopefully he can be patient enough, and hopefully his older brother will not rub it in his face how great of a time we had on this one.
So are there any rules or guidelines that you're having for this trip? I mean, no, it's something and I think I'm probably specifically asking you because you're the one planning the trip, Joel.
Yeah.
Aaron's along for the ride, but but what are some of the ground rules or things that you're looking for?
What I was going to ask Aaron actually, because we haven't had this conversation about what he thinks maybe like one good guideline for us to have on this trip to like help make it meaningful. Like what's something that like a practice that we could both put into play.
Limit our time on our phone.
Ooh, no, see,
that's
there's a good one, right? Yeah, and I've been thinking about that, like to try to be as present as possible in our time. Now, fortunately, for some of our our hike day, our phones won't work worth a darn where we're going anyway. So
those are always the best days.
That'll be
you
nice.
don't have you don't have that choice. You are in it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's an excellent one. I think to a certain degree, I want to have planned time. Like he and I, we have a couple of itineraries that are given to us, so to speak, as part of some of the things we're participating in. But I want to have both scheduled and unscheduled time and try to hold that, pretty clearly. It'll be interesting. We'll be getting up. It'll feel like we're getting up real early while we're there with the time difference.
Right.
So, but getting up each day at a certain time, kind of being on task. When I say on task, like that makes it sound like this is like work, but more like we're scheduling fun each
right
day.
But I think that's important though to have. I mean, yes, it's fun, but I think by what I'm hearing you say on task is you mean like scheduling fun and it means doing purposeful things.
Yes,
not necessarily just I'm just gonna lay around for 3 hours because I can. Like
right.
It's more of you getting up, you doing A, B, and C because that's what your plan is. That's what I'm hearing. Right.
Yeah, I think so. So, we've got really three full days that we'll be there with travel days on the first day and the last day. And so, between that, a lot of car time. And I think, make sure that we're well rested for all of them so that when that's the other thing, like when we are together, we're with it and we can talk about the things we got to talk about. So,
all right. So I'm going to be asking Aaron this one specifically. What are some conversations? Is there conversations that you want to have with your dad, or you're hoping to talk to him about? And this you can choose not to answer that if you want. That's a hard question. I mean, you may or may not know what kind of things you want to talk to your dad about.
So earlier I was reading a part of the Bible, and I was asking him certain questions about things I didn't understand. I would love to ask more questions about that while we're out there.
Awesome.
Ooh, well, I better get studied up.
Study.
Well, Andy, by the way, what every 13-year-old, what book of the Bible they go to right away? Revelation. So, like, I was getting a lot of questions about lampstands and angels and things like that, which I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
And then I made Aaron aware that there was over 350 Old Testament references in the book of Revelation alone, and that maybe we should start back at the beginning. But yeah, like I think like that sort of thing, those sort of questions. What I've become aware of is that Aaron has things inside of him that he's wondering about or thinking about or whatever, and just because of busy lives, like how much of that stuff, like, is he holding on to, and thinking like, oh, I'd like to ask this, or I'd like to have this kind of conversation. But again, when are we going to have the space to do it? How are we going to do that? And so part of it might be that through this experience that we make some new goals about how we schedule our time and regulate our time back here at home. I think that could be a really, really good thing too.
So Joel, I'm going to ask you, and again, you can choose not to answer this because same question, but I know that some of these things you may want to wait until you're out there to even say.
Sure. Yep.
But are there any questions, things that you want, conversations that you want to have with Aaron that you can talk about now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in knowing. I think a big part of our conversation will be like how he sees me as a father, how he receives me as a dad, and even asking, which is a dangerous thing for a father to ask their kid, like, hey, where can I get better? Where can I improve? Some dads some dads might feel like that they're not they're not going to put it out to a survey to their minor child about their parenting. And it's like not so much about my parenting, but just generally like how the core things that I want to model to my kids, I can say left and right, like I think I'm doing a good job at modeling those things. But if they're not receiving it in the way in which I hope that they're receiving it, then it's kind of like it's
right.
kind of a pointless exercise and me just kind of patting myself on the back. So
Yeah.
I think like I have been this last week and then this week too. I'm kind of like writing lists of those kind of questions, trying to drill down and be kind of very specific. I know Aaron really likes it when my questions get very specific and pointed and not just too vague and too broad. Yeah.
So Christy Miller is watching and she says, awesome.
Hi,
Aaron.
Christy.
Awesome, Aaron. So
Yeah.
just thought you should know that. So you're taking a pretty large trip, Joel. It is. It's large. I mean, you're not like just going next door to Shipshewana. I mean, nothing wrong with Shipshewana.
With our wonderful friends in Shipshe. Yeah.
But you're taking this trip a long distance. Is this a trip that you could take close by, or does it have to be where you're going to travel halfway around the country, around the world, whatever? Like, does that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really great question. I think to each individual, if someone's looking to do something like this, I think you could go a little ways away. For us in this season of life, and I'm wondering if Aaron feels the same way. It feels like we have to do something pretty drastic to sort of unplug. Like we have to go to a place that is because like Aaron and I are doing. By the way, Aaron and I are doing this thing together, and we're doing things that both of us are doing for the first time. Some of these places,
sure.
And some of these experiences. Some of the stuff I have done before, because there is a certain element of like I do want to have.
You want to know what's going on.
Some knowledge
right.
about what we're getting into. But I think the newness and the uniqueness that kind of shakes us out of our everyday routine can put us in a different mindset to explore new questions, to ask new things of each other, to have just kind of that kind of perspective. So, maybe you don't have to travel a long ways, but
I could see why you would have to, though, because I think that it does provide that where you're both out of your element.
Yeah,
you're both
right.
traveling to somewhere that's not familiar with yourself.
Right.
You've never been there, even if you have been there before, but it's not something that you're normally around. Whereas, for us, if you go to Shipshewana or South Bend, it's not that those things are bad. I mean, those can be fun memories and
right.
great ways to make memories with your family. But when you're doing a special trip where you're trying to make the whole trip extraordinary and
right.
special, and this time where you get some bonding, I think a longer trip does help that.
Well, it's like I think about your guys' trip as a family, like the things that you did out west. Right?
Oh yeah,
like that is there's the adventure part of that, the new kind of the breaking new ground as a family, and those experiences that are new together. That forges unique things, and hopefully makes memories that everyone will look fondly.
Right, and we do, and we have those trips when you're spending a lot of time together as a family that's out of your ordinary, it's baked those memories into our brains that we still look back and the kids go, remember that time that Dad heard the coyotes cry and he was like running down the thing.
Oh my gosh.
That was great because I said I was running because I didn't know where they were at. Like I could just hear them crying and I didn't know if they were close to me or far. And
was that the time you were camping with us that you're talking about, or was this a different experience?
This is a different one. That was a good one too.
You have a lot of coyote experience.
Right. That was a good one too. That was when Eli was little and they were crying and Eli was crying and they were crying back and they answering him.
Eli's young baby cries apparently sound a lot like a pack of coyote pups.
Right.
Strange. Yeah. So just so you know, Eli. Yeah. So, I think the distance can be. I think there probably needs to be some level of minimal distance, just to break up the norm. But maybe you don't have to go to Phoenix or wherever. I don't know.
Yeah. So, is this trip, like ultimately, what do you think is going to be the most memorable part about this? And I'm going to ask Aaron that, like, what are you looking forward to right now? I mean, obviously you can't say what's going to be the most memorable for sure because you've not experienced it. But what is something that you think right now that you're really looking forward to for this trip?
The watching baseball for the first time down in Phoenix. It's something I've wanted to do. In the first it would be going to an opening day game, but I did that last year when we were out in Philadelphia too. We went to the
we saw the Phillies opener.
And
nice.
And I was not too happy that my 6-year-old sister gets to go to an opening day game when I wanted to go when I was 6 and I was told no.
Yeah, yeah. We keep on telling Erin he's not as cute as she is, so she just gets whatever. It's the only girl she gets.
And she's the last that just happened.
Yes,
Joel, I'm going to ask you the same question. What are you looking forward to most about this trip, and what memories are you hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, I think the big thing is just time with Aaron. Obviously, Andy, we talk about it all the time. Us and our big families, it's like you want to have individual time with your kids. It feels like those opportunities are, you just have to work really, really hard for it. So the fact that we've got this time scheduled out, and no matter what, we're going to have it. And it's time on the plane, time in the car, time on the trail, time in the ball field.
You're going to have a lot of time.
Yeah, and I'm really, really grateful for that. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I think the ultimate goal is that Aaron and I are able to look back on this years from now. We'll have like significant memories about it, and that it'll be something that's kind of like like we said it. They're kind of these landmark events. I don't know what the next. I have a feeling I know what the next landmark event will be, and it's probably for Aaron. It's probably when he graduates high school. You got one of those landmark events coming around sooner than I do. And then it's graduates high school, and then whatever he decides to do after high school, and then it's if he, it's like we're like very quickly like the time begins to speed up, and in so many ways. So
absolutely,
this kind of feels like, not to put a big bunch of pressure on it, but it feels like this is probably one thing in a series of very significant things over the next 5-6 years.
Okay, so a follow-up question to that is there something larger that you're hoping to accomplish here? Like, is this trip part of a larger plan?
Oh, yeah.
What's the follow-up after this?
Yeah.
You mentioned like more landmark events coming up. So do you see yourself doing more trips like this, or what's the next thing?
Yep. So Aaron obviously is the guinea pig for just in general for these 13-year-old trips to figure out what's going to be most helpful.
You're forging like new things.
Yeah, you're making
you're the one that made him a dad. You're the one that you're like you're the first for this.
Yeah. So just in general, as far as our practice with this, I think it's going to be good. But yeah, then other events. As Aaron mentioned, kind of some goal setting. I think annual goal setting for us as a family, for Aaron, just as he enters into more and more responsibility. I mean, it's a conversation we're having with him. It's a conversation we're having with Josiah as well. Like, with every year that passes, there are more responsibilities that come into play. You've got a new driver in your household, and we have those, these same kind of conversations. Hey, with this responsibility comes these things with it attached to it. And I want to, in a little bit of a way, I'm hoping that this is ushering in more of those kind of conversations of, you are gaining in these giftings and these things that we want to bless you with, and with that comes these responsibilities. I think also just in terms of being intentional as a family, I have some other actually like probably like small trips. There's one trip that I really want to do with Aaron. I want to do probably with Aaron. I might do it with Aaron and Josiah at one time, but there's I'm going to call it a faith formation field trip. And it's where we had talked about this earlier, actually, Andy, with John Tyson's book, The Intentional Father, where he took his son to all these like significant places from his childhood where he had learned significant life lessons.
Sure.
Both like practical, the spiritual side of it, all those sort of things. Like took them to the place, put their feet on the ground there, and he's from Australia, so that meant one of the things meant like he took his kid to his first job. Was at a butcher shop actually.
Oh, wow.
When he was a teenager, was at a butcher shop, and turns out the guy that owned the butcher shop was still there,
wow,
owned
that's
it, was
cool.
and able to like introduce him to him, like things like that. So I think to give my kids a little bit of the grounding of like how I was formed, with the significant events
Sure.
that in my life, and to have them kind of see those places. And then I think just some other practices out of this that'll probably kind of kick off. So it feels like there's just hopefully several opportunities to be continually intentional that are kind of rooted back to this kind of initial kickoff trip.
Great. I'm hoping to, when you come back, to have a debrief and talk a little bit.
Love it.
And maybe we can do that as an extra episode, like a bonus episode or
there we
something
go.
on this, because kind of do a debrief on this. But you know what, Joel? We can't let anyone get out of here,
that's right.
even Aaron,
That's
without doing...
Now it's time for the Dudes and Dads Pop Quiz.
All right. So if you have never joined us, the Dudes and Dads Pop Quiz is just a time to... I don't even want to use the word pepper. I'm just going to say throw at Aaron. I'm going to throw random questions at Aaron. Like literally, I'm just going to throw this card at you. No, not really. All right. So I will go first, Joel.
Okay.
And maybe you should take this deck of cards with you so that you can just ask him on the
I should
trip.
just ask him. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good one for this. What are you most excited about right now?
Going to Phoenix, Arizona.
That was like a giveaway, a throwaway question. That was easy.
Do I get another? Do you want me to
I
pull
can
from the deck?
I can.
You just ask him. Go
All
ahead.
right, I'll ask all of them. If there was a sandwich named after you, what would be on it?
It would be an all-meat sandwich. With
All meat.
Tomato, pickle, and mayo.
So like no bread, just meat.
Yeah.
What kind of meat?
Salami, bacon, sausage, pepperoni, turkey, and ham.
Oh, like everything, like all the meats.
All the meat.
meat.
All the meats. Wow.
Wow.
The Aaron. I can't wait to try that sometime. What technology do you wish existed?
Teleportation.
I think that might have been
I think a lot of people say
yeah.
teleportation.
no teleportation, like just like not time wise, right? You're just going
Yeah,
to different places.
going
Like so you could
different
be like, I'm just in Arizona. No airplane.
Or like you could travel through a screen. Travel through a screen to a place.
Oh, interesting.
Nice.
So like if you're FaceTiming someone,
You'd be there.
Yeah, you should go there.
Apple, get on that.
Get on it.
All right. What characteristic are you most known for? I know you're only 13, but
Athleticism.
athleticism.
You're
and being smart.
you're most known for your athleticism.
I think so.
That Aaron DeMott, he is known for his athleticism.
It's
All right.
interesting.
I'm going last one here.
Andy's got to go through.
Some of these are not
Some of these
good.
cards are not great to ask for a kid.
Okay.
As a kid.
Which words or phrases do you most overuse?
I don't know.
All right, so maybe I should ask Joel that. What's the most overused phrase that he uses?
I'm trying to think what. Bro.
Bruh. Is it bro or bruh?
One or the other.
I doubt that.
You doubt it,
I seriously
bro?
doubt that.
You interject it all over the
That's,
bro.
No.
Bro.
No, I don't.
You do.
I
Mike
do
has
not.
Mike has been on this kick of literally, like, I'm literally doing this. I'm literally. Okay.
Yeah, and
wait.
yes.
Wait. 100%.
100%. Oh, 100%.
Wow.
100%.
Wow.
From Jackie. Mom's calling you out.
No.
Yeah.
Mom knows.
No.
Your mom is calling you out.
100%.
Oh no! He always says 100%. There it is.
100.
100% no.
100%. Yes, I think your mom is.
Yes.
Your mom is calling you out there.
love
She's
it.
saying 100%. So, well, Aaron, we've really appreciated you being on here. There. Yeah.
Nicely
There you go.
done. Good
There you
job.
go. So
Yeah.
we've really appreciated you being on the show today. Anything that you want to say before you leave the show that we didn't ask you?
Is there anything you want to say?
No.
No, just no.
Do you feel like this has been a good episode?
Yeah.
All in all,
Yeah.
I think it's going well. I think we're training our future generation or podcasters, Andy. I think we're onto something. Hey, everybody, thanks for being here. As always, you can head over to the Dudes and Dads podcast.com for each and every episode, all the show notes, all that good stuff.
And our voicemail is at 574-213-8702. Guys, we've not heard anyone lately call our voicemail.
Call that voicemail.
So 574-213-8702.
And Dudes and Dads podcast at gmail.com.
Or like us on YouTube or whatever.
Dude, like us, follow us, join us, subscribe, all that. Guys, we love you. We're grateful for you. Until next time, we wish you grace
and peace.